never tell people how long the break will be. So some people get up and leave and never come back. I think I mentioned all of this. Chesterton is interesting, just cool. He basically argues that it's the logicians that go crazy, not the poets. Because the logicians try to get everything into their head, the poets can kind of just say, interesting. These links to the textbook, those are not the correct textbook. I haven't yet. I know that there's a website that goes with this. I don't know if when you buy the book, if you're getting a link to the website with a code. I didn't order one. I don't really think you need that. There's so many tools available on the website for logic that seems to be just a waste of money. I imagine money is an important thing for everyone. It is to us. The Jabberwock. Why do I have the Jabberwock there? Lewis Carroll, right? The pen name of Charles Dobson, right? Wrote Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass, right? Familiar with that? He taught mathematics and logic, and even wrote a great logic book and so on. Tried to solve Aristotelian syllogisms. When you put them in chains, they were called sorites. He developed a system where you could check your sorites to see if your entire argument was valid or not. Very difficult. We don't use that at all anymore. The modern logic systems have replaced all of that, and they're much more powerful. So we don't really need to do that. The syllogistic systems, I think, are still important, and they're kind of the groundwork to why our logic systems work. So I still introduce those. There are some logic books out there that have kind of done away with that, but it's still a requirement for our course here that you get all three of those systems. And it makes sense to me. It's also, I think, a really useful tool when you're, say, arguing with someone on the spot. So, for example, the debate team. You know, we have a national class debate team here, beaten, I think, just about everybody except Harvard. Occasionally, they come close to beating Harvard. And it's neat being just down the hallway from them because I hear them arguing with one another all the time. That's how they get good at everything. They practice all the time. Parliamentary systems, and so they're all in there banging away and all that sort of thing. But they've really done well. But it's a skill that you can develop. It's not like so and so is absolutely a marvelous debater. He was born to be a debater, and so they find him and get him into no. That's not how that works. Practice these systems, and you eventually get really good at doing it. And they're up there practicing all the time. They're debating with one another. They're reading things so that they're up to date on all the issues that are going on as much as possible. And they go out and they debate all over the world, and they win. So it's absolutely fantastic. And if you're interested in joining such a group, they're up there. You're welcome to find out when they start up in August and participate. They're packed, but lots of people go up there for good reasons, so I highly recommend it. Dr. Steve Johnson is the one who's the coach, so he's up there. But syllogisms are a terrific way for you to get used to the idea of one-on-one debate, so that you can literally think as fast as possible while you're in that debate and know whether or not your opponent has made a mistake or not. Once you get the syllogisms down pat, you can recognize certain rules, so that if you hear someone say, no such and such is the case, so therefore no such and such is the case, argument might be valid. But if they say no such and such is the case, so such and such is the case, you know immediately that they've got a fallacy there, and you can pull their argument apart. You can't have a negative premise, but have an affirmative conclusion. It's just mathematically unsound. So ways that you can pick up things as soon as you learn the rules, or you can hear people make a mistake right away. So it's a tool. enables you to do this very quickly. So syllogisms, really good. Medieval monks had to learn syllogistic arguments. They literally had competitions with one another. If they didn't pass, they couldn't go on to learn how to read the Bible. Basically, it was the Weeder course. And like statistics is at UAA, right? Don't pass statistics, you'll never get to be a nurse, I guess. Something like that. So the Jabberwock is kind of interesting, talking about how linguistic systems work, how words mean things. We talk about definitions. Usually a part of an introductory logic course is talk about the different kinds of definitions out there. Because as we grow up speaking one language, how many folks speak multiple languages or have at least two? Couple. I think the problem when you grow up just speaking the one language is you think the world is the way that language describes it, and it never occurs to you that your language is actually a particular lens that shows you the world in a certain way, but when you get outside of that lens, there's lots of other ways of seeing the world. Advantage, disadvantage of learning other languages, some to the point where I was literally able to speak fairly freely, convinced me that there are completely different ways of viewing the world. And those were actually languages that were related to one another through the family tree, right? They were all Western European languages for me. But even so, you end up realizing that there's all kinds of interesting dilemmas. Like in France, in French, everything is either male or female. German has neutral too, neuter also, but there's not really that very many words that are neuter. But in English, if I started referring to my cup as she, that would be pretty darn weird, right? Right? Because virtually everything in English is neuter, except for living creatures that are sexed. And so we just think of that as not, right?
To some degree, some people put ships to their vehicles or ships or vehicles.
My car, I think of as the Blue Nun. It's blue. I was going to call it Der Blaue Engel, which is masculine, actually, which is weird. Why would angels be masculine? German. The association is with a book where the professor was a real horrible guy. At the end, the lesson bad. So I didn't want to associate my car with a movie that
But even the thing with giving a sex to an inanimate object is not like across the culture either. It's just like not to everybody. Their car isn't all
right.
Women,
Or ships.
Yeah.
What else? But tables, we don't think of tables as feminine, and chairs, which slide into the table, as masculine. But French do. Right? There's all kinds of crazy things out there. Now the thing is, even the French people argue with one another over whether that's important or not. One of the great French sociologists